Oh,
Did that work?
That worked. What's up, Sam?
I'm here. Marques, is this your first room?
First room.
I've seen you kind of in and out of rooms, but you've been listening. So
yeah,
he's been ducking me, Sam.
It's good to hear you speak.
Stealth mode, you know. I'm learning the app. I know Twitter Spaces is a thing now, so I figure the format is here to stay. Might as well mess with it.
Yeah, man. Good to have you officially on Clubhouse talking.
Yeah.
Well, should I bring? I see Renee's here. I see a bunch of people that I follow that I know I've seen in other Clubhouse rooms. And then there's a bunch of buttons now. You can search the room. You can end the room. 10 people have raised their hand.
Of course. They all want to talk to you.
I see. I'll start bringing up people and see what happens. First person to raise their hand. All right. Brian? I just added Brian. Let's see if it worked.
So right now, Marques, you are the moderator, which means you are the only person who can bring people up on stage and in the room and all that good stuff.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of power. That is a lot of pressure. Saf, what time is it where you are?
It's half 12, but I'm a late one. I was on Clubhouse till 5 a.m. on Sarah's room on the weekend.
Oh, okay.
I came on just thinking I'm just gonna listen in, and then she invited me on as a speaker, and then next thing you know it's 5 a.m. and I'm like, oh man, this is too late. But yeah, it's fine. I work on US time as it is.
Gotcha. I added 2 people, and I also found that I can limit who raises their hand to people followed by the speakers.
Oh, you got some serious power. Woo.
Am I pronouncing that right? Julio and Alex? What's up, guys?
Correct. What's up?
Hey, how are you?
Fan of your videos.
What do we do in Clubhouse? What do we talk about? Do we even I feel like I scroll down the list, there's mad people here, and I don't know what
all right. So let me help you with this. So most of the people that follow you obviously are going to be in tech or interested in tech. So I guess we can start there, unless you want to talk about something else.
Let's just talk tech. We can start tech. There's a ton of stuff. I have a podcast, obviously. I'm talking tech all the time, but what the newest stuff that I'm talking is in the product world. I'm talking like we just saw the Audi. All right. Let me just toss this out there. Hot take. Okay. This is a brand new hot take in the world of electric cars. We just saw Audi's e-tron come out, and it's $100,000. It's got a 93 kilowatt hour battery, so it'll go about 238 miles on a charge. 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. Beautiful car. Would you get it over the competition?
I mean, that's the question for you, Marques. You just, I'm still curious about this Tesla Model S order that we saw pop up.
Oh man,
Is it the plaid one?
I can't spill too many cards, but it is the plaid Model S. Yeah. Now, I stand by what I said in the video, which is I don't need it. Okay. I don't need it, but there's a lot of big plans behind it. I'll leave it at that. But the e-tron, like, I don't know if you guys think about like people cross-shopping a new electric car like a Taycan or an e-tron versus a Tesla, and the subject of quality control always comes up. Do you guys have strong feelings about like Saf, you have a Model 3. Do you have strong feelings about like panel gaps and paint swirls and quality defects, stuff like that?
So I actually didn't really have many of those because I'm paying 50 grand for a car. There's no excuse, right? So I sat there for a good half an hour with my brother looking over everything. There was some minor scuffs and stuff. They got somebody to come out and sort it out. But generally speaking, it wasn't too bad. But I mean, personally, I would not accept that if I was paying that much for a car.
Right. So here's the question. If you have same price, let's say you have this $99,000 Audi versus $99,000 Tesla. Biggest problem on the Tesla is going to be quality control. Maybe there's some panel gaps. Maybe there's a weird thing where the chrome isn't really evenly set. Would you rather take that or the impeccably made, perfect, no panel gap, incredible paint Audi, but it only goes half as far on a charge and doesn't have quite the same charging network in your region?
I think I'd be pretty biased, but yeah, I'd probably stick to Tesla. What about you?
I think so. Personally, I made my choice. I still prefer the car that can supercharge, and I understand that people spending a lot are immediately more critical about quality, but I'm really curious what that balance is, because I feel like there's a lot of people who make the choice for the Tesla over the Audi.
Yeah, but I mean, I think yeah, you're right, because just the charging network that they have, and they're just so far ahead of anybody else. And I remember you mentioned that in your video as well, and it just makes sense, doesn't it? And everybody is kind of like just playing catch up right now, aren't they? But it's definitely good to see a lot of competition, because then that obviously just drives everything forward.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I just invited Renee up. I saw you. What's up, Renee?
Hey man, how's it going? Good.
Great.
I agree with you. I think Tesla leads the pack in terms of the technology, the battery technology, the charging network, but that fit and finish is still going to the traditional automakers.
If you had the choice, like if someone was going to drop a free car in your driveway right now, and they could either drop a $60,000 Model 3 or a $60,000 Mach-E, which one would you take?
I mean, I'm in Montreal, so I'm scared of all of them freezing. I remember my friend has one in Calgary, and it froze solid. But I'd have to go with Tesla because I think they're just more mature in general and would be able to handle it better than anybody else.
Wait, what do you mean by froze? What happened?
He left it outside, and it got to like minus 60, and everything just froze. And because they didn't have somebody who could handle it in Calgary, they had to send somebody over. Sorry, in Winnipeg, they had to send somebody over from Calgary to fix it all up again.
Minus 60, Jesus. I feel like everything freezes at minus 60.
Humans shouldn't live there. They should like bring in the UN and move them someplace warmer, like the Yukon.
Have you guys seen that video of this guy who literally couldn't shut the doors of his Tesla because it was so cold? They just wouldn't close.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that, but I've seen not being able to open the door. The Model S actually is even more susceptible to that because the handles are actuated, so they're recessed into the car until you unlock it, and then they pop out. But if there's ice or if they're frozen, they literally won't pop out. You can't open the door. So I've seen that.
We have a funky taxi service that's just Tesla and just goes to the airport. It's like a fleet of Teslas that will take you to the airport no matter where you are.
That sounds cool. The other thing about the question you were asking about the Tesla or other cars, and that Tesla is the only one with the supercharger network. So definitely got to consider that, especially if you are interested in taking some long distance trips and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm gonna open up the room to anyone who's who wants to raise their hand to talk. I figured electric cars was a good topic. But like,
if you're interested, Brian from Real Engineering is in the followed by speakers section, and he's been making videos on all this technology for a while.
I love it. I'll invite him up. Spyran, what's up? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you're good. I had a question about VR, if y'all are interested.
Ooh, the twist. Throw it at me.
I remember thinking back to the movie Ready Player One and how, everyone's like in this virtual world. And I feel like Clubhouse is like that right now in like an audio format. So how far away do you think we are from VR variation of Clubhouse where we're just like sort of immersed in this other world?
It's a good question. It's like because it's audio only, it has like some of the ups and some of the downs. You mentioned Ready Player One. It's one of the few movies I have seen and I thought was really good. Audio, for some reason, feels really personal, like you're having a real conversation. But since there is no video and there is no other way to view body language, eyes, nothing like that, then it does take you away from the immersion. I wonder if people would even want like a VR version of this, like where you're face-to-face and in a group of other avatars and holograms. Is that the feature of this?
Yeah, like in more intimate rooms, I feel like I'm hanging out with friends. So I guess to take that to another level, like if Clubhouse did have a VR element to it, where you're just like at a campfire on a beach and you can see your friends, I guess that's what I was thinking. Like, how far away are we from that, or is VR even going to become mainstream as we think it would, like in relative to Ready Player One?
God, apples would be emoji, wouldn't it?
100%.
Hey, Marquez.
Yeah.
Remember that conversation we were having the other night? How about we bring up a couple of ladies that are involved in tech up here?
Absolutely. Also, Brian, what's up?
Hey, how you doing? But yeah, it'd be great to get some women up.
I'm going to invite anyone who raises their hand who wants to chat tech. Again, I'll just throw it back to the beginning. This is the first time I've ever run a Clubhouse room. I'm just kind of figuring out what the buttons do, what the etiquette is. Seems pretty fun so far.
Y'all don't have no idea how long I've been trying to get this man to talk in the Clubhouse room. I'm so happy.
Marquez, you could get on somebody as a sort of co-moderator who can then bring people up, because I think, instead of you trying to do the bits in the background, you can get people to actually do that for you, and then that way we can hear you talk.
Yeah, Viper is amazing at that.
I just added you guys as moderators. I found the button. I feel like that's a good start.
Let me go do work here. Let's see.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go try to find some technical ladies down here to bring up. So let's see what we got.
Can I ask Brian in
Viper
the
is the
meantime?
Clubhouse man.
Brian, what would you choose? A Tesla Model 3 or the new Audi?
Oh God, depends what country I'm buying it in. If I was buying it back in Ireland, I'd probably get the Audi, because the range isn't so much of an issue there. I'd only really be using it between, like, in the city and maybe going to Dublin. It's not that far. In America, I feel like you need the range.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on if you're a commuter, what you do every day with your car. So if you have a house with a garage and you plug in every night and you start every day with 100% battery, then you don't need a car with as much range. But if you live in the city, if you park on the street, if you rely on the charging infrastructure and you don't start every day with 100% battery, you should probably get the one with more range, so it's not as much of a headache. You don't have to think about it as much.
I just wish we could get the best of both worlds with Tesla. Like, I test drove a Model 3 earlier this year and really wanted to like it, but I couldn't justify spending like $50,000 on something with the central console in particular was just a little bit irritating to me. I don't know why. It was just personal taste. I like the German interiors.
Welcome, Sarah and Meridius.
Yes, hello.
Hello. How are we doing?
Welcome to my test room. Welcome to the Talking Tech test.
I love it. Thanks for inviting me as a speaker. I'm a little bit curious, actually. We're just talking about the consoles and the sort of interior design of Tesla versus the new Audi. And I mean, I'm a UX designer, so that's sort of a little bit of scope of what I do and what I study. And it's something that we talk about quite frequently, about how, minimalism is good, but too much minimalism can actually produce the same cognitive effect as maximalism and too many options, because oftentimes people that are using whatever it is, be it a console or a screen or an interface, particularly in cars, oftentimes they don't know where to start. So it's a very interesting piece of feedback that you had about how you sort of prefer the more traditional car interiors, because maybe they align a little bit more with sort of what you're used to.
Yeah, I'm curious on your take on one thing. I'm not sure if you've experienced the central console door in the Tesla Model 3. If you push down on it too hard, it doesn't close properly. And it took me about 2 days to figure this out, even though it said on the screen. And the more annoyed I got with it, the harder I was pressing it down to get it to stick. It was just like one of those weird little UI things, and I couldn't figure out. I was trying to figure out how the latch mechanism worked in it. It would only work if you push down on it softly, and to the point
I hear that. Yeah, I hear that, and it's actually funny that I was talking about this from an accessibility standpoint. I don't own a Tesla. I wish. Not quite there yet. I also live rurally in Canada, so I'm very disconnected from the sort of ecosystem. Anyways, regarding that sort of mechanism in the center console, it really goes to your point that testing is very important. And my personal take on that is, yeah, I think that was something that was overlooked. I think that people, whoever was designing that, the mechanical engineer, the product designers, they were thinking about it perhaps in a certain use case where, you know, you're getting into your car and you're relaxed and, you know, you gently touch everything because, you know, your mind is elsewhere. But you also sort of have to consider the edge cases. You know, somebody might be strong, like, you know, you might just be a naturally stronger person that might approach that mechanism with a little bit more force.
Just an impatient man.
Well, that was my next comment too, is that a lot of these interactions don't exist in isolated movement of closing that front console. I think that that's where there are certain things that Tesla does that is for an idealistic user, but maybe not necessarily for a real life user. And I think that that's something that they're eventually going to expand on. But, you know, bringing that feedback to them, I think would be really helpful.
Yeah, I've definitely had that center console push down get kind of annoying. But your point about, Sarah, about minimalism in general in cars, I think is really interesting. I think about this a lot, where it might end up being more of a generational thing, but I think when someone who's driven a lot of cars that typically have a lot of buttons in sort of the same places lands in a car that doesn't have those buttons and puts them somewhere else, it can feel overwhelming despite there being less stuff. And to that end, Teslas for a while have had like a really high average age of buyer, like 50 plus is the average buyer of a Tesla. Mm-hmm. But a lot of younger people aspire to a Tesla because they haven't driven any other cars before. They don't have like this preset idea of what a quality interior of a $60,000 car looks like. Mm-hmm. And so when they look around, they see lots of buttons, and then they see the Tesla, which looks high tech, and that's like a cool new thing. So it might just be a generational thing where people just look at it differently depending on how old they are.
I completely agree with that point. And I think that goes back to this concept we talk about in UX called mental models, about how everyone has an idea in their head of how something should look, how something should work, all the way down to how something should feel when they touch it. And it's not even conscious, which is what makes UX so fascinating and automotive design so fascinating. Is, you know, when I started driving, you know, like the average age when I was 16, I didn't have those mental models in place. So if I had started out in a Tesla, that would have shaped my mental model differently. It may have been a little confusing at first, just general beginner sort of issue, but I find it really interesting that although Tesla is on the almost extreme side of minimalism, that they still manage to hold that higher demographic. Like, for example, somebody that would be of my dad's age, you know, in his late 50s, early 60s, you know, he's looking at getting a Model 3. And that was something that he said, you know what, this is my only barrier, is that it doesn't make me think of the typical interior experience of a luxury vehicle. It doesn't feel the same way. There aren't the same, there isn't the same mapping of, you know, there's even down to the fact that the new Teslas aren't going to have shifter sticks or anything along those lines.
I mean, going to bring that up. That's going to be hard to explain.
That's just like, that's a whole other conversation, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, imagine explaining to someone who's driven cars for 40 years that, okay, this car doesn't have a shifter. I know you're used to changing the gear yourself, but you're just going to have to get used to it knowing, hopefully, which direction you want to go.
Is there an accessibility issue with that? I know with a lot of the neomorphic designs that are coming out, people who have low or no vision or low or no hearing, the lack of verbosity and legibility and contrast and all of those things are hugely challenging to them. And it looks nice and simple and minimalist, but it provides these huge accessibility gaps.
Yes,
100%.
absolutely.
Hey, Meredith, you're quiet down there. What's up?
Hey, I'm just cooking dinner, and I'm really enjoying this whole conversation about Teslas, actually, because I would like to own a Tesla, but I've never even ridden in one. And I'm actually curious if anybody knows. I live someplace where we get snow and ice, like a foot of snow sometimes without roads being plowed. And I'm actually curious how they perform in snowy, icy weather. I already heard the conversation about the freezing up in the -60. We don't get -60 Fahrenheit. I don't know what it would be Celsius, but
Around the
I'm
same
curious
thing.
about that.
Yeah, I can speak to this. I mean, I'm near New York City. There's a foot of snow on the ground right now. I would say, at least I can speak to my experience with Teslas. They are simultaneously the greatest performers and also some of the biggest hit performers in the winter. I say the greatest because their all-wheel drive is phenomenal. It's computer controlled. It's instant. It grabs traction better than anything that's not computer controlled. And that's been, I don't even have, I'll be honest, I should have put winter tires on my car. I have all-season tires, and I've been fine in a foot of snow. So that's awesome. The other end of that stick is your range decreases significantly because batteries operate at an ideal temperature, and cold weather enough for a foot of snow is really far from the ideal temperature. So it's spending a lot of extra energy getting the battery to that ideal operating temperature along while you're driving. I mean, you can precondition the car, but you still spend extra energy in a way that gas cars don't. So it's a downside. I know for a fact that, the car I drive is rated for 300 miles on the way I usually charge. I'll get 280 in the summer, and I'll get 212 in the winter. But once you kind of calibrate to that, that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
What's up? Getting that good information. Hi, Loria.
Well, hello there. I know nothing about Teslas, but I'm totally listening. Hey, Renee.
Loria, I've been watching your videos for forever.
You're freaking kidding me. Okay, so I reached out to you when you got your new studio, and you never responded to me. So what's up? I'm just going to call you out on this.
Did you email me? Because I promised my inbox is a war zone, and I would love to get back.
I think I tweeted you. Yeah.
No, yeah, I've been watching you guys. You did a studio tour, I don't know how many years ago, that I must have watched like 5, 6, 7 times just to try to understand, like, oh, you guys pack a whole thing just for travel gear, and like that's such a good idea.
That's freaking awesome.
Long time viewer.
We should connect.
100%.
Yo, so I had to cool. Glad we got Loria up here. So thank you, Loria. I had to bring up my man Benji. What's up, Benji? How you doing, man?
What's up, Viper? Thank you so much. Marques, love what you do on YouTube for tech and honestly just for our community. I'm a fellow YouTuber myself. Can I just ask a random tech question that has nothing to do with Tesla?
Go for it.
So I'm not really a techie, but I love using technology. Obviously, fan of your content, watch reviews all the time. Have a lot of YouTubers that are tech friends, but the one tech that I'm really paying attention to because of what I think it'll do to the world, and I think 2020 was a great example, is VR. I know you kind of brushed on it a little bit earlier. What is going to be the tipping point? What are the thresholds that need to be crossed for it to literally take over? Because I feel it's going to impact the world in such a dramatic way. I mean, the shutdowns of 2020 and people just staying at home is a good example of like literally whole industries will basically lose traffic because people enjoy that VR world more. So being somebody that's an outsider looking in, but realizing the significance, what's kind of your fortune teller brain saying about that technology?
I get asked a lot about, being in tech, asked about like future tech, what the next stuff is going to be. And it's VR and AR always come up. But then the question is always like, what's the killer app going to be? What's the thing that's going to come out that everyone goes, oh, that's why we need like AR. We need to get a headset so we can all be in this app together. And there's some cool games and some great experiences that are built, but there isn't really any killer like, social network. There is no
Fitness,
Clubhouse.
maybe?
There's no. Say that again.
Fitness, maybe.
Fitness, sure, yeah. I mean, a lot of games are actually low-key really good fitness experiences in VR. But I think we're going to have to find some really good, key, accessible simple, value-adding killer apps in VR. And when we find those, and maybe Benji, maybe today is like the best possible day to find those when everyone's at home and still wants to connect. But I think once we find those, then VR hits that inflection point and really takes off, because it's clearly going to have a really promising future. I just have a hard time seeing where that point is without that killer app. Does that make sense?
For sure. And thank you so much for that answer. It means a lot coming from you. And the reason I asked too is because you see all these movies, science fiction, futuristic movies of people literally living in a VR world, like Bruce Willis. I forgot the name of the movie, but he literally was like in an avatar that walked out of his house and was like the perfect version of him. So I feel like you can't deny it, but I'm honestly shocked that it's not here yet. By the way, I'm helping because I'm on a Peloton bike. Speaking of virtual worlds, but so
I think there's a whole room for that, Benji.
So anyway, thank you so much, Marques. I appreciate it, and thank you so much for giving me a chance to ask the question. And Viper, appreciate you, bro.
Would Luria say that the future is streaming? To like, if Marques had a streaming VR show, that would be the future of it.
For VR? Oh, well,
VR,
I mean,
AR.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's the killer app for what he was talking about, you know, the streaming. But I mean, I'll always say streaming is the is the future. But I agree with him on the killer app and use case, but also the smaller tech. Nothing's getting smaller when it comes to VR, unless I have missed something.
It's gotten slightly lighter in my experience, and I think that's pretty important. I have been, for the past couple of weeks, shooting season 2 of Retro Tech, and I haven't told anyone about this, so a little exclusive for Clubhouse. Part of what we're doing is looking really deeply into VR and AR, and I have some of the earliest prototypes of VR headsets in the studio right now, and it looks kind of like this mad scientist like thing. Like you literally have to hold it onto your head. It's so big and heavy, like a computer. Literally imagine like a CRT connected to a periscope on a pair of glasses. It's wild. So it gets better, it gets a lot lighter, and it gets cheaper. But I still think a lot of us, when we think like Ready Player One, we're thinking like even smaller. We're thinking almost inconspicuous type level, where you wear glasses that you sort of flip down the shades and you're in another world. That would be kind of sweet. We're not there yet.
Do you have the Nintendo Virtual Boy? I gotta ask.
I do.
Oh, nice.
Of course I do. Of course we're doing. If we got to talk VR, we got to have a Virtual Boy in Retro Tech. Yeah, we got one.
Nice. Well done.
How long do you think it'll take to get smaller? So we're at the lighter stage, but I mean, when we do think about something that's really portable and you don't look like a dork using, right? I mean, let's just call it what it is. Like, when do you think are we 10 years out from that?
So no promises on the not looking like a dork part, but I think it gets notably smaller because right now the biggest parts are the batteries, the displays, and then just the part that I guess just the lens that sort of expands your vision from where your point of focus is naturally to the whole display. So assuming you can get the display a little bit smaller and the batteries a little bit smaller and the computer's a little smaller, I feel like we're pretty close to the end, because you still have to fill your peripheral vision. You know, is it possible to fill your peripheral vision with a much smaller design? Not sure.
I'm literally looking at my HTC Vive now, trying to figure out what you could actually minimize on this thing. It's like, that exact question is like, why is it so big? Is the question you need to ask first.
The heat dissipation and the optics, and a lot of that is very big still.
Yeah,
no doubt. Hey, Matty G, I know you want to come up and talk Tesla. What's up, man?
Yo, I appreciate you having me up. What's up, Marques?
What's good, man?
So you were talking earlier about quality in an Audi versus the Tesla. And I just got rid of my Model 3, and I've always felt like it was like a mid-range VW, like quality-wise. You know what I mean? Like you slam the door, it kind of feels kind of tinny.
Yeah.
So kind of got me thinking, the Audi, you know, the Taycan, all that stuff, the quality is just way superior. What do you imagine an Apple car will be like?
Oh man, I'm so glad we have Renee here. Honestly, I really have a hard time picturing an Apple car, and I think that's because every car company in the world already has some type of DNA. And when I say that, I mean, like, when you picture a Tesla, you picture, maybe subconsciously, maybe you realize it or not, but you picture the lines, you picture the logo, you picture the shapes. Maybe the Cybertruck is a little bit of an exception to that rule. But you picture a Mercedes, you see the shape. You picture a Honda, you see that shape. A Volvo has that boxy shape. And so when I picture an Apple car, everyone makes these mock-ups that are like these crazy, overly futuristic, wild things. And we all know Apple likes to enter new product categories with a bang, but I just have such a hard time visualizing that thing. Renee, what do you think?
So back when they did the very first version of Titan, Johnny Ive and his team put together a bunch of designs for the car, and I've only heard about them. I've never seen them, but they sounded pretty much what you'd expect from a Johnny Ive car, just incredibly minimalist.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's probably missing doors, right? Like that was one too many hardware controls.
But after driving the Model 3, like, I don't want a super minimal car. I want something a little bit more, utilitarian.
The current rumor is that it's going to be built on, someone else's platform, maybe Hyundai's, and they just hired the former head of Porsche design, the guy who worked on the Cayenne, to make the chassis, and then it'll have Apple AI. So it'll be like, hey, Siri, take me home, and Siri will tell you the web search results for home.
I did rent a Hyundai Veloster this past weekend, and the cup holders are the perfect size for AirPods Max.
So in other words, they're gonna buy Hyundai. Confirmed.
Confirmed. Hey Marquez, have you had a chance to use Twitter Spaces yet?
No, I've just been following, kind of like on Clubhouse, their evolution, but I haven't used it. Seems very similar.
Yeah, I hopped to my first one yesterday, and it is literally a carbon copy of Clubhouse. It's kind of eerie.
I'm not shocked at this point. Isn't Facebook building I'm putting air quotes, I wonder if you can hear them, competitor?
Yes. Yes, they are.
What do you think is going to happen to Clubhouse after all of these, like Twitter Spaces and Facebook will come in?
Instagram is making one too, and then there's another third-party Campfire or something app. There's going to be 5 of them within the next 6 months.
Yeah. To answer your question, to answer your question, Saf, I don't think Clubhouse is going anywhere. They have some serious back-end, and this platform has gotten quite the reputation for it. So I don't see it going away just because competitors are emerging.
Do you think they get acquired, or do you just think they get cloned relentlessly?
Ooh, that is a good question. Well, they're already in the process of being cloned relentlessly, but it looks like Sarah has something to add. What you got, Sarah?
I'm thinking, well, in typical Facebook fashion, I think they'll probably try and do it on their own, realize they can't do it, and then go, well, why don't we just buy this little guy over here? And that's my prediction, since that's sort of what happened with WhatsApp and then, Instagram. And, they sort of tried to implement those features, realized that they couldn't do it as well, or perhaps they didn't want to invest the time in it when they had enough capital to just turn around and go, hey, we're going to buy you. Here's an offer that you can't refuse. So it's quite possible based on their history.
I think, but after Snapchat, that kind of changed, because after Snapchat, Instagram, and everybody else just ripped them off, and in a lot of ways just did it better. So I wonder if that's now changed.
Ooh, that's a good point. I didn't think of it from that angle.
Because you can imagine if Instagram, which has way more users, decides to just build an audio Clubhouse-like feature, immediately that has 100 times the active users. And Clubhouse...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I just kind of wonder, like, does Clubhouse have a response, or do they just kind of watch and cross their fingers? What does that look like?
Here's my thing. No. Oh, go ahead, Lori.
I was just going to say, like, I honestly, with all of these clones, I don't see the same mentality being infused into, an Instagram, a Twitter, a Facebook. It's going to be a completely different environment. I don't think that we'll have the same authentic conversations in those different platforms. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that Clubhouse is still going to win from that perspective.
I believe, to me, it's all about perception. When you go to Instagram, Instagram has reels, they have stories, but mostly when you go to Instagram, you're going to post pictures. Facebook is Facebook. Twitter, you're going to have like active tech conversations. You're not really going to use Twitter Spaces. I think Clubhouse is going to be able to carve out its own little niche as being a voice first audio platform, and everybody else is going to be seen as a knockoff to Clubhouse. But once you get that perception of what your platform is used for and is known for, it's kind of hard to shake it, even when you add new features. So in that respect, I think Clubhouse is going to be able to carve out its own little niche and stay relevant as an audio-only platform.
So you're thinking it's going to be less than what Instagram did to Snapchat and more like what YouTube is doing with Shorts to TikTok?
Yes.
I love an analogy. That's a great analogy. Amy.
I had to bring up, I have never talked to Amy, so I had to bring her up here. Hi, Amy.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Just testing what this whole Clubhouse thing is about. You've been here before me. Do you have any tips?
Honestly, I feel like I'm still super new to it. And I also I don't want to like disrupt whatever the conversation is going on. I just saw a good group in here and had to jump in. We had a really great conversation. I think CeeLo just joined. We had a great conversation on Saturday just about general YouTube data and analytics advice. It was just a really cool interaction. it is pretty cool how we're able to jump together like this. And I'm literally laying on my couch right now. I'm not concerned about the blab days of getting on camera. And like, that was so cool to have that time. Cause I think we had this appreciation of gathering a group of people really easily and not with so much friction, like a link with Zoom and invitations and things. So I see a lot of that in this app, and I think it's pretty awesome. And Marques, even like from a content creation standpoint, just being able to gather a group of like-minded people, and I know you're doing things with like a podcast, not just YouTube videos. I think it's just so great to be around people who are like-minded, so we can just continue to branch out what we're thinking about and make sure we're not staying on the same hamster wheel all the time, and keep ideating and maybe go in new and fun directions with the type of information that we share.
I'm really hoping that they make it more open and like make it available on Android and not require Android soon. It's like one of the ideas I had with it is like, as a content creator, just being able to like have a debrief of a video after I upload it. It's like as soon as the video is like done going up, just like start a Clubhouse room and just allow subscribers or whoever to get up and ask questions about the video and just get like that extra bit of information in. Like, I think that would be a really cool use case.
Oh, that's cool.
YouTube will make it.
So that's something me and E have been talking about, is as soon as you've uploaded a video, there's always so much conversation, and YouTube comments are just not the best place for that. It just gets a bit over the top. So having Clubhouse just to be able to chat and talk more about the video is definitely a really good way to have that conversation.
Builds community too. It just seems like a great way, and just having it as a really casual, like no pressure to sound smart in the moment, like, because when something's pre-recorded, people expect you to have all the answers, but when it's just a casual conversation, it's a lot easier to say like, oh, I don't know.
I think low-key this might have been the perfect time for Clubhouse. Obviously, being in a pandemic, everyone's at home already, everyone's already in front of a microphone all the time. Feels like this is like a strangely ideal time for them to suddenly be building.
I agree with that. I also think it's an opportunity for, to the same point of, you can just jump on a microphone and it's okay to say, I don't know. And I think that that's really cool because you welcome a lot of opinions and thoughts. You can also kind of show what you're like when you're not totally scripted and storyboarded out. And I do think that those end up being some of the most exciting connection points with people, is really hearing what they're like on the fly, because everything these days is like the perfect Instagram and the perfect YouTube video that's algorithmically driven. And so, yeah, I think that this is cool because of that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Clubhouse is an amazing platform because just like right now, we're all like together or like by fate, more or less. And this would not normally happen on any other platform except for Clubhouse. So this platform is amazing for getting a group of people together that might not normally get together. And like Marques was saying, this is definitely an opportune time for the platform to exist and grow, because since we can't get out and have the normal human interaction that we are used to, we can all come together on this app and even like I said, even have more possibilities that wouldn't even be normal in the real world, and just have that sense of togetherness and connectivity that we can't get right now because of the pandemic.
Can I just echo that CeeLo is a legit genius? Everything Amy said is 100% correct.
Yeah, and I was just going to add to Amy's always correct. Just to add to what Amy was saying, you know, I'm from a streaming perspective, right? I'm constantly helping people get more comfortable in front of the camera and put themselves out there in a more authentic way. Real, true authenticity, not this fake authenticity stuff, which is what I love about Clubhouse, is that it is true authenticity, and it's not surface level like you see on Instagram and everything else. And so what I've seen, you know, along with what Amy was saying, is that people are learning how to be themselves first and foremost, be uniquely you, as I always say, and they're putting themselves out there in that way, in a more comfortable environment, without having to worry about makeup and hair and present themselves, quote unquote. And it's really transformational in terms of getting them from that on camera in a way of being comfortable already, because they already know that they can speak up and be heard and they're worth it. So I think it's so powerful, and that's what I'm not sure the other platforms will have.
Indeed.
We shall see. We shall see. Well, anyway, I think this was a fun first test. One of the most interesting things I've seen is I just checked how many people are in the room, and it's going up instead of going down, which is something that never happens on YouTube during a live stream. I thought that was hilarious. But I'm gonna step out. I thought this was a fantastic conversation, and thank you for everyone who joined. Thank you for you guys who are moderating. You guys were bosses at this, so I appreciate that. And I'll probably be back on here soon. I think there's a lot of fun conversations that I'll leave with this. I would love for Clubhouse to build a feature, just like a little incognito feature, where you could just like black out your profile picture and your name, and just join rooms and not have to worry about being asked to speak. But also, I understand that the whole point of the app is to feel comfortable walking into rooms and speaking all the time. So I'll just drop that little nugget.
Hey, Marques, before you go, can we talk to Bronson real quick?
Absolutely.
What's up, Bronson?
Hey, Viper. Thanks for bringing me up here. And thanks, Marques, for setting up this room. This is cool. I didn't have any questions or anything. I was just going to dive in on the conversation about VR. But I think we kind of moved past that. But so.
If I leave the room, does it still stay?
Yes.
Yeah, as long as other people are mods, it's fine.
Oh, that's dope. All right. I think that's what I'm going to do, because I got to go hop in the car. I don't want to be clubhousing and driving. So,
hey, just a quick question, Marques. Is there a good time or a good place to reach out to you, a better place?
Yeah, if you tweet at me literally in the next few minutes, I will see it.
Will do. All right. Have a good day.
Take it, man.
Hold on. What do you mean you don't want to come out and drive? You have a self-driving car. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I don't want to be in charge of all the buttons, you know, the mute button, the unmute, all that fun stuff. I'll let you handle it. You guys know what you're doing.
I got to bet with you. Appreciate you, man.
Take care, man.
Right.
Speak soon.
Take it easy, guys.
Thanks, Marques. Take care.
Yeah, Marques.
Thanks, Marques.
Viper, I got to go record a video for you, so don't take it personally if I drop out later.
No, I appreciate you, Renee.
All right, let's see how many people are going to leave now that Marques.
I know, right? It's going to be like a mad exodus now. I don't know. It's okay, Sab. Me and you will hold it down for a few minutes.
I mean, I would totally stay, but I got orders from the man himself to go make a video. Like you just got to listen.
I appreciate you, dude.
Bronson, I'd love to hear your VR question.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, well, to Marquez's point, the number's actually going down now since he left. But that's just I think it'd be cool to make a feature for people to join anonymously, because I have heard quite a few people say that they'd like to join a room and just listen in without being invited up to stage to speak. I think that's something they could work out for sure.
I think Twitter will do that on Spaces before they do it here. They'll take over.
I agree. It's funny that you say that, Bronson, because I agreed. I believe Clubhouse needs an incognito mode, But for our purposes, I'm glad they didn't, because it didn't allow me to talk to Amy, and I've never talked to Amy before, and I think Amy is awesome. So had that feature been in place, I would be able to talk to Amy. So I'm glad it is not in place yet, but I agree. We definitely need that.
I'm not gonna